Nyoom everyone, it's me Naga Nyoom, and today we're watching Borolo with the video Who is Truly the Strongest Souls Protagonist. Ooh, John Dark Souls? John Eldering? John Bloodborne? Is this Bloodborne? I assume it's Bloodborne because of the hat. Yeah, since I've been playing Elden Ring DLC recently, I think it's fitting that we are watching this video. Okay, let's see who is the strongest one. Eldering? John Eldering? Because you fight a god in the end. I mean, you've also fight demigods, but don't you also fight gods in Bloodborne? Like eldritch beings? I don't actually know if you fight the eldritch beings that you see. I've only seen Jacksepticeye play Bloodborne, and I didn't even finish his playthrough. So I can only assume from what little videos I've seen what Bloodborne is all about. Bearer of the Curse is the strongest. Who's the Bearer of the Curse? Okay, let's watch.
All Souls games have badass main characters who faced godly beings and managed to come out
Badass, hell
alive.
yeah.
Tarnished had to face Soldier of Godric. Sekiro almost failed his journey at the hands of Mist Noble.
Soldiers of
And there
Godric.
were eldritch gods such as Pinwheel, Coventus
Pinwheel?
Demon, and this guy.
Oh my god! What is that? That is a chunky sail. It's like a maggot sail. I don't know, it reminds me of a sail. A sail that has been out of water for too long. Kinda ugly. Seals are mostly cute, but this one is not cute. Covetous Demon. What is this? Dark Souls 2? What a face. More of a slug.
and this guy, I don't know. I believe each protagonist is powerful enough to survive in each other's world. I can see Sekiro bullying Soul of
These
Cinder
two?
and linking the fire. I can see Tarnish spamming Bloodhound stab across Yarnam. So who is the strongest Soul protagonist? Well, let's start from the bottom of the list. No, I didn't put the least favorite character in the bottom spot to avoid angry Redditors. Or did I?
Oh. What's the bottom one?
In all seriousness, I don't think Slayer of Demons is weak in any way.
Oh, it's from Demon
and
Souls.
the same goes with every other Souls
Another game I
protagonist.
haven't
They
played.
are all incredibly broken and powerful, but some are slightly less powerful than the others. Now, Slayer of Demons is basically
Slayer
the
of
medieval
Demons.
Doom guy. My dude here's Boletaria is covered in a thick fog, and all legendary warriors who traveled there are never seen again. So, Slayer of Demon looks at the situation and says, yep, I can deal with that. Slayer of Demons defeats many powerful enemies, such as Dragon God, but his enemies don't really feel as powerful as the enemies other protagonists face. Dragon God was a plain skeleton worshipped as a symbolic god before it was resurrected as a demon. Slayer of Demons basically does what most other main characters do. They have an unbreakable will that can resist godly creatures, they defeat champions
Unbreakable
and legendary
veil.
warriors of the previous age, and they defeat many powerful demons.
I mean, it makes sense to base how strong the protagonist is on how intimidating or how scary their bosses are. The bosses that they have to fight are. That's true, because earlier I was thinking about that, like which one of them defeated bosses. If all of these games have gods as bosses, I guess we're just gonna have to, like, in a way, rank out which gods are the strongest gods, because when you determine which gods are the strongest gods, the person who defeats them must be the strongest among them all. Yeah. I already forgot who is this. Oh, Slayer of Demons. Alright.
However, this
Slayer
is
of
the
Demons.
issue. They
Is he
don't
not
really have
targeting
anything special
the
that
enemies?
other characters
Oh, they
can't
are, okay.
replicate. Despite being
They're
immensely
being
powerful,
targeted.
they fall a bit short against all the other characters. So, I won't stick to this one too much. There are many interesting characters waiting higher
Crescent
in the
Maroon
list.
Grass.
I don't think Sekiro is weak by any means,
Sekiro.
but we need
That
to
looks like
decide how we
Rykard.
measure strongest characters.
Maybe not.
If gameplay is considered, good luck
Kinda
landing a
reminds me of
single
Rykard,
hit
though.
on Sekiro without getting parried. He can deflect bullets and attacks made by a divine dragon, but then there's
Divine
Armored Warrior.
Dragon.
Sekiro fails to even scratch his armor. So, without lore
Oh.
backing it up, gameplay doesn't really tell you how strong or weak a character is. A random farmer can break Sekiro's posture,
Oh.
and a random sewer rat can seriously hurt a character who has slain a god 5 minutes ago.
I mean, it's not about the character. At this point, it's about the player. Also, when there's like 5 sewer rats around you, it can be really stressful, okay? Or if you are surrounded by the dogs in Dark Souls, or the dogs in Elden Ring, those curvy dogs, they're sometimes more difficult to deal with when there's more than 3 of them attacking you compared to when you're dealing with a boss, especially when you're panicking. Especially when you're me and you're panicking. Ooh. I die more to the small mobs than the bosses. Because they just surround you and overwhelm you with their numbers and their relentless attacking. And the main problem as well is the camera and targeting system. Because your target will be like boop, 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 switching between different mobs, and you don't know what to hit, and they're everywhere. But when you're fighting a boss, usually there's only one. Usually. So it's not about if a farmer or a sewer rat or a dog would be able to defeat you, even though you already defeated a god. Sometimes the player who's controlling the character is already fatigued, and it could just be a skill issue. Yeah. Well, let's see anyway. Let's see what else he has to say.
I decided to place Sekiro in the 6th place because this title is more down to earth than all the other titles. You won't find a god at every corner, you won't shape the future of the universe. Sekiro, just like all the other protagonists, can resurrect, but his powers come with one additional little bonus. He can resurrect at his will without needing to return to a shrine, but his resurrection seems to be slightly more complicated than the other ones. Despite coming back to life, he can't replace his body parts, and that's why he has the prosthetic arms. He is skilled enough to deflect pretty much anything, and he can even redirect lightning bolts regardless of their size. He can master different fighting styles and tools in a matter of seconds.
Cool.
Probably the second biggest advantage Sekiro has over the other characters is his Mortal Blade. It is essentially the same thing as Destined Death from Elden Ring. Against Sekiro, all other characters only have one chance. In a scenario where they face Sekiro, it is inevitable that they will lose their immortality as soon as they contact with Mortal Blade. Without over-the-top lore, Sekiro could destroy any other character in the list as long as they are not wearing any heavy armor. Sekiro is faster and stronger, and he can never get exhausted. But at the end of the day, Sekiro is just a regular human who is against gods and godslayers, so he falls a bit short on the lore side of the things. But if you were rooting for Sekiro, don't feel bad. The second round takes place underwater, so he is automatically the strongest.
Yeah, he's the only one who could swim. He could definitely beat everyone else just on that account. Why is he the only one who could swim? Why can't I swim in Elden Ring? I wish I could swim in Elden Ring. Maybe the game will be too big if they allow you to swim in Elden Ring. Ay, ay, ay.
Chosen Undead is a unique character in a way that even his
Chosen
title is a
Undead.
lie. He is a chosen champion who was destined to escape from the Undead Asylum and link the First Flame once again. But this is one of many made-up prophecies made by Lords of Anor Londo in order.
Wait, that's what it means by chosen undead? Because he's from undead, because you're from undead asylum. That's why you're chosen undead? I don't know, it's because you're undead. Because you become shriveled up. And you need humanity to be plump again. To have supple skin. I know that's why you are chosen undead. Oh. I guess that makes more sense that chosen undead because you're from the undead asylum. Oh my god.
to trick humanity and have them work towards a goal that will only award Gwyn and his family. So, right from the start, Chosen Undead is brainwashed into fighting for a fake
Oh, you're
salvation.
brainwashed.
In Dark Souls
Damn.
1, it is heavily implied that Chosen Undead is against a broken world, and he rarely faces legendary figures in their full power. Gwyn is exhausted and driven mad after linking the First Flame. Artorias is corrupted by darkness, and his sword arm is broken. Calamite is impaled by a giant's arrow right before he encounters Chosen Undead. Sif is not willing to fight his old friend, and there are many more examples of this situation. But Chosen Undead's journey is not all lies and exaggerated battles. They defeat the Father of Sorceries, they
gaslit into
surpass the
fighting, oh
greatest
my.
sorcerers of Lordran. They learn Chaos Pyromancies, and they obtain flames burning
Oh my god, what are
brighter
these
than
things?
the ones even demons of chaos can cast. And their most important
They look
achievement is
freaky.
defeating Father of Abyss. He travels back in time and defeats potentially the strongest monster ever set foot in Lordran.
Manos,
While
Father
gods
of
of Anor Londo
Abyss.
hide in their castle, Chosen Undead faces Manus in its lair. Without
What? Is this from Dark Souls 1? Or is this from 2? I don't remember encountering Manus.
a doubt, the strongest force of darkness and abyss fails to corrupt or even harm the Chosen Undead. On top of his victory, Chosen Undead
Did I
learns
miss
the
this
dark
guy?
sorceries of Manus, and he brings hexes
Manus?
lost in time back to Lordran. So without him, future generations could never wield the sorceries derived from darkness. Chosen Undead faces many powerful enemies and earns a godly status despite the false prophecies that guided him. They are still an incredibly powerful protagonist, and placing them so low in the list doesn't mean they are weak by any means. But sadly, they don't face many enemies in their prime to show true potentials they hold. Bearer of the Curse is my favorite protagonist,
Bearer
but
of
as
the
much as I
Curse.
want to place them higher, I have to settle for the 4th spot. Based on the ending you pick, Bearer of the Curse can even become the 2nd strongest character
Who
in
is
the
Bearer
list.
of
The
the
thing
Curse?
that makes them special is simple. They are the only one with choice, while every other character is forced
Oh, this is
or
from 2, Dark
manipulated
Souls 2,
to
not
reach the end of their
Bloodborne.
journey. This doesn't apply to the Bearer of the Curse. They decide they will try to cure their undead curse, and they sail
You have
into
more
an
choice.
unfamiliar, distant world to explore. Just like
You're
all the
in
other
charge of your
characters, they
destiny.
also challenge many powerful entities. The ones that stand out are the fragments of Manus, but
Mashandra.
how can Bearer of the Curse be stronger than Chosen Undead if they only beat the small fragments of Manus? Well, Bearer of the Curse achieves one thing no other protagonist could. When they dive through the gates of hell in order to free Burnt Ivory King from his eternal torture, not only Bearer of the Curse
Oh,
defeats
chaos,
the
damn.
strongest warrior of Drangleic, they are also the first and the only living being to travel into the depths of chaos and come out alive. Not even the so-called gods in Dark Souls can resist the old chaos. However, eternal cursed flames fail to harm Bearer of the Curse. In Dark Souls, regardless of the ending you pick in any game, you never break the cycle in the end.
Nobody break the cycle. That's kind of depressing. Strongest Souls protagonist is Augmented Human C4621 from Armored Core. Ah. Despite with the 4 Knights with you is so sick. Ivory King. 4 Knights. I guess we'll find out when I try the game.
Your choice makes no difference. If you refuse to link the first flame in Dark Souls 1, another chosen will rise and they will link the first flame instead.
Wait, I have a question. How come I didn't fight Manus. Did I miss something in Dark Souls 1? Why didn't I encounter Manus? Who is he? I I didn't see him. Manus, yeah. At the end of the... Oh my god, I got spoiled. Oh no. You haven't gone there yet. Oh, okay, okay. I thought I missed something in the base game. I see.
In Dark Souls 2, if you refuse to start the next stage of fire, you will be forced to do so. And when you link it, some spooky skeleton will find you, slay you, and turn your
Spooky
crown into
skeleton?
a bracelet. In Dark Souls
Oh
3
my.
once again, regardless of your choice, another Age of Fire will start. But there's one unique ending, different from all the others in Scholar of the First Sin. If you pass the last
Scholar of the
test
First
of
Sin.
Aldia, you are
Aldia.
given the option to abandon your throne. At this point, just like
I mean, I'm
Aldia,
not gonna
you
remember
escape
all
from the
this,
cycle
so
and
it's
become
fine,
an immortal
surely.
soul immune
No
to undead
spoilers.
curse. Together with Aldia, you travel across time and different realities to uncover the truth of your existence. Bearer of the Curse is the
what's the
only
truth?
protagonist who ascended to a position above the gods of Dark Souls. However, their influence is not visible in Dark Souls 3. It is either because they became something much bigger than 4 lords, or it's because writers decided to hard reset the lore after Dark Souls 2. But the fact still remains, Bearer of the Curse is the only character who ascends to a position above gods. I have to finish this part and leave the country before the toxic fanbase readies their fedora and katana.
Running
Now,
on
I
enemy
placed
later.
Hunter in the 3rd spot, but he might as well be the second strongest
Bloodborne,
protagonist.
John Bloodborne is the
Comparing
3rd
different
spot.
settings is really difficult.
You know what? Maybe I could try Bloodborne on emulator as well. I don't think I would acquire a PlayStation anytime soon. I mean, he plays it to emulator, so I'm sure it's fine. Because I'm really interested in Bloodborne. It's just, I'm not interested enough to warrant it. The interest is not high enough to warrant buying a whole ass console just to play one game. Anyway, let's listen. That was, I just had to share. Because I really want the game to be on PC, but I don't think it's gonna happen. We can cope all we want that Bloodborne will be on PC soon, but it's not gonna happen.
Anyways, what makes Hunter so special and powerful? Well, Hunter is a fighter who mastered all kinds of weapons and tools. Only Tarnished and Sekiro can match his speed, and just like all the other characters, he
Only
is
Tarnished
also
and Sekiro.
immortal. Not
I
only
feel
is
like
Hunter
number one is gonna
expert
be
in tracking and
Tarnished.
slaying beasts, they can also challenge skilled warriors with ease. As Hunter slay their prey, they become progressively more and more powerful through blood and insight. Hunter starts as a human being, but as the journey continues, they evolve into an almost godly status. Just like all the other characters, Hunter also faces many godly beings, but the concept of fighting gods in their weak form is also present in Bloodborne. Despite challenging many of
you're
the
fighting
great
them in their
ones,
weak form.
Hunter meets them in their weaker physical forms. And here's the part that separates Hunter from
I've
other
never heard
characters
anything bad
higher
about
in the
Bloodborne.
list.
Yeah.
The great ones that are present in the game are not
Me too.
necessarily fighters. They are incredibly powerful creatures that can
Seems
shape
really
reality
good.
and even take out their enemies with a glimpse, but as Hunter evolves more and more, great ones are forced to rely on their physical strength as their godly powers become useless against the Hunter. Similar to mythology, each great one has different powers. Hunter is capable of slaying gods, however, the ones present in the game seem to lack proper fighting experience as they never needed to rely on fighting before. I will give some examples from mythology. Think of it this way, you have god-slaying powers, but you are challenged by Persephone or Aphrodite rather than big guns like Zeus or Poseidon. In the end, you defeat a god, but you defeat the weaker gods in their weaker forms. You don't fight against a god who is a master in battlefield. Hunter is still incredibly powerful and just as capable as
Oh,
any
that's
other
disgusting.
protagonist. I believe they could easily become the Elden Lord, or they could easily link the fire. But the gods
like
that are
wearing a
challenged
skin
by
on his
Hunter
head.
don't seem as intimidating as the ones other characters challenge, especially because Hunter is immune to most of the great ones and their powers. But of course, being
Oh,
immune
he's
to gods
immune.
and hunting them is a great
course.
flex, and that's
He's a main
why it
character,
is so
so he's
difficult
immune.
to decide between the 2nd and the 3rd spot. Ashen One's story is a bit different than all the other
Yep. I feel
characters.
like number one
Every
is
protagonist starts at their lowest.
tarnished.
Sekiro has lost his
Hmm.
will to fight, Chosen Undead is rotting in a prison cell, but Ashen One is different. Before their journey starts for the second
The
time, they are
maidenless
already a failure.
remains
Ashen
at
One
the
is
top.
an insignificant soul who tried to link the first flame but
Ashen
then
one.
failed miserably and was reduced to ashes. But their second journey begins when the Lords of
Mergos
Cinder
were wet
refuse their
nurse.
duty. Without anyone else willing to link the first fire, Ashen One is resurrected as the last resort. Throughout their journey, Ashen One meets many
Ashen
formidable
one.
enemies.
I actually forgot that you're called the Ashen one in Dark Souls 3. It never stuck to me. Or maybe when I was playing it, it stuck to me, but it didn't stick very long. Hmm.
Some are way past their prime, like High Lord Volnir and Yorm. Some are stopped by Ashen One before they could reach their peak, like Aldrich and Sullivan. But the difference Ashen One makes is the godly
Oh god,
enemies they
mid
manage
there.
to beat.
God, I
Midir
hate
is
this guy.
weakened and corrupted by the dark. Abyss is a
Never
corrupting
defeated him
power
yet.
that can destroy gods, humans, and essentially anything with soul. Yet Midir is powerful enough to consume it, and Ashen One is powerful enough to defeat such a beast.
Not me! I didn't defeat him. Ah. Eventually. Eventually.
Nameless King is not in his prime during his fight against the Ashen One. However, he is still the same god of war who has slain and absorbed countless ancient dragons. The only reason he holds himself back during the fight is because he leaves his god of war identity behind in order to build a peaceful world for dragons, lords, and humans. Another
Wow. So
godly
noble.
creature beaten by Ashen One is Slave Knight
Oh
Gale,
my
a
god,
powerful
Gale.
soldier who has been
Ah.
alive and
This
fighting
video is
wars long before
traumatizing
the
me.
first Age of Fire started. Not only does Gale have thousands
I
of years
almost
of
finished the
experience, at the
game.
end of his journey he
Ah.
also holds the majority of the Dark Soul. For those of you who don't know what Dark Soul is, it is basically an Elden Ring rune on steroids. It is one of the core souls that started life in Dark Souls. Once Ashen One defeats Gale, they collect the soul which most likely belonged to a god in the beginning. And at the end of Ashen One's journey, they face the soul of Cinder. It is the embodiment of every champion who has linked the fire in the past. Soul of Cinder doesn't directly hold the soul of everyone.
Oh, he's the embodiment. That's why he's a combo as Andy. He's an embodiment of all the warriors before him. That's why he has so many moves. Ah, this guy. I see, I
That
see.
came before him, as the soul grows weaker and leaves the body over time, but it still holds the will and the battle experience of Gavin, previous two Dark Souls protagonists, and every other champion who has linked the fire. Defeating such a boss by itself is already a great achievement, but the fact that Ashen One collects the soul of Cinder's essence and gains access to powers of countless warriors makes them an absurdly powerful character. It is probably no surprise to anyone that Tarnish got the first spot. I will keep it short for all 12 of you
Tarnish,
legends who are still
oh.
watching the video. Tarnish doesn't follow the fighting bosses at their lowest setting as much as the other characters. In Dark Souls, it is
Look at
heavily
those legs,
implied that
dude.
almost all the bosses are just
Mr.
shadows of
Thunder
their former
Thighs.
selves. I mean, by the time you encounter Gavin, he is a mindless hollow and his boss fight is especially easy to implement his downfall. But in Elden Ring, you fight most bosses in their prime, or at least close to their prime strength. Sure, there's Radahn, who has lost his limbs and mind after Malenia triggered a tactical nuke right next to him, and Renala's second phase is a simple spell mimicking a fraction of her power, but we need to look at the other major bosses. Godfrey returns from his pilgrimage to defeat Elden Beast. When you push him to his limit, he expels Sarosh to fight in his peak form. Now the cool thing is, even when he was defeated in Badlands, Godfrey didn't remove Sarosh, so it already tells how big of a problem Tarnished is. Another example is Malenia's boss fight. Malenia's duel with Radahn ends in a stalemate, but while Radahn loses his mind, Malenia grows stronger after her recovery. When Tarnished pushes her to her limits, she blooms and becomes even stronger. Malenia is an undefeated warrior, but despite ascending and becoming even
Ooh.
stronger during her boss fight, she is still defeated at the hands of Tarnished. Malekith, a fearsome
I mean, I guess if you put it that way, right? If you name an enemy, if you have a title for an enemy that says the undefeated, it really makes you feel good about defeating that enemy. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you defeated an undefeated character, that makes you stronger. Amen. Oh God, Malekith. Oh, my worst nightmare.
Warrior, who has defeated godlike Empyreans without any special powers, fails to defeat Tarnished despite wielding god-slaying powers this time. Similarly, Moog fails to defeat Tarnished despite having the blessing of another god.
Mog.
Elden Beast, a vassal of God, just like all the others,
Mog, you
falls before
butt.
Tarnished, and maybe their most impressive fight is against promised consort Radahn.
Well, there's a spoiler for the DLC. Radahn is also in the DLC. Alright. Okay.
Radahn in his final form is missing his Great Rune, but he is blessed by Miquella on top of Formless
He doesn't have
Mother.
his
Unlike
horsey
other
this
characters,
one. This
Tarnished
time
fights
though. Okay.
many bosses close to their prime
No
strength,
horsey.
and oftentimes Tarnished challenges bosses right after they become even stronger than their former self. Tarnished also holds the powers of a Great Rune of their choice, and they are guided by Queen Marika. They are immortal
Tarnished
just
is
like all the
also-
other characters.
Tarnish also the only character who beat Rick, Soldier of God. Yeah, of course. Rick is the strongest of them all, and if you manage to beat him, you're the most strongest. You're not the strongest, you are the most strongest.
Except their immortality doesn't come with any downside. So Tarnished has a clear advantage over all the other Souls characters. Well, this was it. If you liked the video, give a like. If you disliked it, go ahead and hit the thumbs down. And thanks for watching. I will see you on the next one. Bye.
Jojo? Good video, good video. I kinda expected that Tarnished will be number 1. Yeah. Bosses who need to reappear in Night Rain. He also has one for Night Train. Most evil characters of Souls game. Souls genre. Let's see. What else does he have? This is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool video. I love it. Why Souls-like aren't fun. Clash of Gods. Which one's the hardest? Which Souls game is truly the hardest? Oh, that's a good one. Maybe I'm gonna react to that one next time. If this video doesn't get copyright strike or... Not copyright strike, copyright claim, I'm gonna watch more. More from Borolo. Good video. Good video, good video. I like it. Greatest Souls NPCs who stole the spotlight. Oh, I'm also interested in that one. Okay, like and subscribe. Comment down below. Do you agree with Borolo that the strongest is the Tarnished? See you next time. Goodbye. Goodbye. This is the ending song. Ending song. This is the ending song.